It's time for the Chicago Bears to turn the page. Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. On today's show, I got a new Bears free agency plan after the Chiefs have franchise tagged Trey Smith. Since that ship has likely sailed unless he becomes available via trade, let's take a look at what the Bears could do. I think you start with this. I think you lock down a center in free agency. Drew Dahlman is obviously going to be the name that is heavily linked to the Bears. You're already seeing that. It was that case before the Trey Smith news. It's been that case since the Trey Smith news. I do think he's going to be a player that the Bears prioritize in NFL free agency. He's improved throughout his career. He's an excellent run blocker. He's hit and miss as a pass blocker, but he has improved in that area. He's 26, 27 years old. Ben Johnson has talked about the need for a veteran center to come in here, and he fits that mold while still being a young player. Minor concern with the ankle injury from last year, but other than that, he's been mostly durable throughout his career. The question I do have with Drew Dahlman is how much is he going to cost? With Trey Smith off the market and with him being probably the best young center available that does have a good experience, like what is he going to cost in NFL free agency? I do wonder what that's going to look like. We've seen reports of north of $15 million. PFF initially had him at about 11, 12 per year. I would love him at that price. I don't love it at 16, 17. So we'll see how it ends up playing out. I got to imagine Trey Smith getting signed, though, drives that price up. Now, maybe Ryan Kelly becomes a fallback option for the Bears for like 1 to 2 year deal, 10-ish million per year. We'll see which direction they go. I would prefer Dahlman if you're not breaking the bank. Got to be honest, if you're getting near Creed Humphrey money, he's not Creed Humphrey. I get you overpaying for agency, but to me, like $15 million a year is overpaying, so I wouldn't want to go much beyond that. Okay, who should be the Bears' top free agent target now that Trey Smith is off the board? I would put Drew Dahlman in that category, or at least in the mix to be that guy. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Obviously, you're still going to need to get at least a guard in NFL free agency, as both of your starting guards are free agents, and Matt Pryor, who I'd like to bring back for what it's worth. I didn't want to mention that as a backup, high-level backup option. Obviously, Tevin Jenkins is a free agent as well. I think with Trey Smith off the board, I would like to secure either Kevin Zeitler or Brandon Scherff. You kind of know what you're getting, right? You're not getting an all-pro. They're not at the peak of their powers, but they're veterans who have played a lot of ball and who have played at a high level. Obviously, Kevin Zeitler is going to be familiar with the language, with the offense, even if it's a different-looking offense than what Detroit had, just because he's played under Ben Johnson. He played extremely well last year for the Lions. Brandon Scherff was still pretty good last year. Run blocking took a little bit of a dip per PFF, but his pass blocking was really good. ESPN had a stat. He was one of the highest or best guards in pass protection, and I can't remember what the exact stat was, but he was like 7th on the list, so still a very good pass protector. And I think these two are in a very similar category of 33, 34 years old, 1 to 2 year deals, affordable, right? Less than $10 million per year likely on a 1 or 2 year deal. If it's a 1 year, maybe it's like 10, 11, but again, that's not tying you down long term. I'd like to get a 2 year deal for one of these players. That way you have some security beyond this year. Maybe it's like, 2 years, $16 million, 8 per year with 10 guaranteed. That way, if you do need to opt out, you have a minimal penalty in 2026. So we'll see if one of these guys becomes an option. I would think that Ben Johnson would look hard at Kevin Zeitler and tell Ryan Poles about that. I'm sure he's a name that they've discussed inside their building. Okay, number 3, spend some money on an edge rusher. I'll add defensive tackle, like if a Milton Williams is someone you want to spend on, okay, fine, but a pass rusher, I guess is the way I would put it. We'll take a look at some names on the edge that the Bears could look at here in just a second. But listen, if the Bears make a big move, we're making a video. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications. We'll be live pretty much that entire first week of NFL free agency, breaking down every single move the Bears make. Do not miss out. We got you covered here on Chicago Bears Now. Okay, these are 3 of probably the more expensive edges that are going to be available, probably in that $15 to $20 million range. Maybe Chase Young is slightly cheaper, but he is still just 25. He'll probably get a decent penny here. Khalil Mack, obviously shorter-term deal, 1 to 2 years. I've thrown out the 2 for 30, 2 for 35 with like 20 guaranteed for him. Would he come back to Chicago? There's been reporting this week that the Chargers would like to bring him back, so we'll see what happens there. Chase Young, I've thrown out 2 for 30 for him as well. 20 guaranteed, something like that. Maybe you have to go a little more than $15 million per year. I think Josh Sweat's going to get a pretty penny. I think he's going to get at least 3 years, maybe 4, probably 18 to 20 million per year. That makes me a little nervous, but I am okay overextending a little bit on a pass rusher now that you're not going to pay big money for Trey Smith. Like, it'd be one thing to throw 23 a year at Trey Smith and then also 20 at Josh Sweat, where it's like, okay, Trey Smith, you get it because he's one of the best guards in the league and you have to get a protector. Josh Sweat's a good player, but he's probably more like a $14, $15 million per year player. Paying him 20 hurts a little more. But if that's your big expenditure, you can live with that a little bit more because you're not doing that for a guard in all likelihood at this point. Some cheaper options, DeMarcus Lawrence, he's kind of probably in between the rest of this group and the other one. I would guess he's in the 12 to 15 per year on a 1 or 2 year deal. His agent came out and said he's healthy and that they will meet with the Cowboys later this week, but he could test the open market. Charles Omenihu, he signed a 2-year, $20 million deal with the Chiefs last time around. Maybe he gets something similar. Matt Judon, a player the Bears were interested last offseason. Would that still be the case with Dennis Allen here now? Hassan Reddick doesn't really fit the mold of what Dennis Allen likes in a 4-3 edge rusher, but if it's cheap enough, maybe they would consider Preston Smith. He's got some good size. He's played in the NFC North, had 4.5 sacks last year, 2 of those with the Steelers after the trade deadline. Be sure to get an FGB shirt, Preston Smith, former Packer, represent at chatsports.com/FGB. That link is in the comments and in the description. Click and shop today. Get yourself an FGB t-shirt. Sign a veteran safety. We've talked about this a little bit. Now, I'm not talking the Javon Hollins of the world. Who's the Chiefs guy? Justin Reed. These guys are going to get probably $15 million per year. I'm more talking about a guy who can be a starter or a high level backup. That brings us to guys like this. You're talking about the Jeremy Chins, the Xavier Woods of the world, Jordan Fuller, Richie Grant, Marcus May. All these guys, what I like too is, to me, they can play both safety spots, especially a guy like Jeremy Chin, who I think is pretty intriguing. I just think you need some insurance, some security for Kevin Byard and Jaquan Brisker. Byard's 32, 1 year left on his deal. Brisker, 1 year left on his rookie deal, missed the final 12 games of last season with a concussion. In general, I don't mind Elijah Hicks as a third safety, but I do if you're concerned Brisker is going to miss a lot of time again if he has an injury. To me, Hicks, if he has to play a month, okay, fine. Over 2-3 months, he gets exposed a little bit. These other guys, they've been starters in the league. They've played at a high level or at least a serviceable level as a starter for a very, very long time in a lot of those players' cases. So I think you could see the Bears, throw $5-6 million at a safety to give yourself some insurance and feel better about that safety position overall. And then lastly, I would sign a blocking tight end. I would bring in somebody that you feel good as a blocker and can at least, catch checkdowns and be a safety valve for Caleb Williams if you need to. These are 5 guys that graded out pretty well as run and pass blockers last year. Michael Pruitt has been a good blocker for a while. Hunter Long had a good year last year blocking. Austin Hooper, Mo Alley Cox, more so known as receiving tight ends, but they've kind of evolved. They're pretty good blockers now as well, so they'd probably fit more of the tight end 2 realm, like a true tight end 2, whereas Luke Farrell along with Long and Pruitt, they're probably more of that tight end 3, mostly just a blocker, kind of just going younger than Mercedes Lewis, right? Like, I guess if Ben Johnson wants Lewis back, that's fine, but to me, I think that experiment is kind of done. I know he said he wants to play one more season, but I thought last year he was pretty bad. He had a lot of pre-snap penalties. I thought his blocking slipped. So to me, it's kind of like, hey, thanks for the last 2 years. We're going to go younger there. You just need better production from your tight ends, and I don't mean raw stats. I mean reliability, less penalties, attention to details, being able to block, just catch the simple checkdowns. Like Gerald Everett, who you signed to be a good complementary weapon, having 6 catches for 38 yards, and then Mercedes Lewis at 40 years old having these pre-snap penalties. Like, you just can't have that from backups. Like, you need more stability behind Cole Kmet, and I think getting a blocking tight end and maybe drafting a tight end who can help supplement some of the route running, I think that would make a lot of sense. Okay, what's the Bears' top need beyond the trenches? So outside of offensive and defensive line, what's the top need? You could say running back. You notice I didn't include that here. I want to do that strictly in the draft to pair with DeAndre Swift. You could say tight end depth. You could say safety with that situation. You could go number 3 wide receiver. If you had to say one specific thing beyond the trenches on this roster, what would you be looking to target? Appreciate everybody for tuning in to this edition of Chicago Bears Now. We moved our live show to today, 4 o'clock Central Time, so be sure to subscribe and join us for that. We'll see you then. Bear down.